everyone, so welcome back. Today we're doing the paper autopsy of CST 5, and I started with physics because I realized that is one thing that I really messed up in today's test. But it's fine, we're gonna do it as fast as we can because physics usually takes hours, like literal hours. Okay, so let's just have some talk about how is neat and stuff like that. Well, honestly, mm, I don't know, I just feel like I'm in this rat race, but I really don't want to be in it. I want to be in like a game. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just met an old comrade, and since then I've been feeling a little bit weird. Plus, yesterday and day before yesterday was a full day of no book. I think it's definitely weird. Like you can, if you're a third person, you can actually see how it is to be a student experiencing all this. But I don't think I'll back off because I was a person who once did it, and I just can't back off just because 30 days I just need to prepare the whole thing again. So I shouldn't be doing that. Okay, so I think we can go. We can talk more about stuff later on. But yeah, so the first question was pretty easy. It's about self induction, and thankfully, I think earlier this month or something like that, I did learn easy methods to find dimensional formula. So you just have to know the simple formula, and then you can easily find it. So yes, I used half Li square, and that's the exact correct answer. Okay. Now the rest three questions in this page, I did not get it. So let's like go from scratch. So this question tells for a particle moving along x-axis, acceleration is given as 6v cube. So I think let's just try to do once more because who knows, probably I can do it now also. Right? So I was just thinking if I could do it right here. So they tell acceleration is 6v cube, and the acceleration is in meter per second square and v is in meter per second if the velocity of particle is 2 meter per second at x is equal to 0. When x is 0, velocity is 2 meter per second. Now what do I do to find x at 2? Now if I have to get velocity, I should differentiate acceleration. So then I'd be getting something like 6 is 18v square, and if I need distance, I'll be getting something like 36v. Right? So I don't know, this one, let's just keep it aside. I don't know how helpful it's gonna be throughout the question. And also try to apply equation of motions like uh, oh god, there's a peacock outside my house, guys. So cute. Okay. Um, I know nothing is ringing a bell in my mind. Let's just try S is equal to UT plus half AT square. Now this is basically when time is 0. Okay, so I just can't consider this 2 meter per second to be the initial speed, right? Yeah, I think that is one mistake I've thought of. But other than that, x and v square minus u square is equal to 2 radius. Now what exactly is this motion? It's a particle accelerating, that's all. So and distance is involved. If you consider this itself, so when s is 0, v square should be equal to u square. So then if I do s is equal to ut plus half at square, would I be able to do it? Let's check. Ut is equal to half cancel. I get to 4 by a. Time is basically 4 by a, something like that. Now acceleration is 6v cube. Now the second scenario I am supposed to find S, which is 2. So I have like 4A. And I need to find velocity. Okay, never mind. I'm just gonna forget all this. Let's just see how they've done. Okay, I did think they would have done something like this. They did done integration, and after the integration, okay, acceleration is v dv by dx, right? That was something I kind of forgot recently. Mm, and we need velocity. Okay, this was far more simpler than I thought. Let me do it on the paper. This is actually far more simpler than I would have imagined to do this. So what they've done is they've taken acceleration to be equal to v dv by dx, right? So this is something we can do, yes. And that is equal to 6v cube. And if I kind of like rearrange them to do the integration, then I'd get dv into 1 by v square is equal to 6 into dx. So if I try to differentiate it right now from 0 to 2, I'd have something like, do I differentiate velocity from 0 to 2? No. From 2 to something, which is like x, let's say, right? Yeah. 2 to, let's put it as v dash. Alright, okay. So then if I have to integrate 1 by v square, it will be v to the power minus 2 minus 1 by minus 3. So it will be plus 1 by minus 1. So I'm gonna get something like minus 1 by v. And that one from 2 to v dash. This side is 12. And then if I have to do it, I have minus 1 by v dash and 1 by 2, which is equal to 12. So if I do minus dash is equal to 12 minus 1 by 2, I'll have 24 minus 1 by 2 as, so I kind of have 2 by 23 minus 2 by 23 as the answer. So let's see what have we got. Yes, so that is the answer. Cool, okay. That was something I wouldn't have been able to do. But I think some things I need to remember is A can be written as b dv by dx. That's all. And this was actually something I kind of forgot in the long run when I was doing another question. But other than that, fine. Let's move on to the next one, which again I couldn't do. A particle move along the parabolic path, which is x is equal to y square plus 2y plus 2. So basically that is an equation for parabola, right? In such a way that the y component of velocity vector remain 5 meter per second during the motion. The magnitude of the acceleration of the particle is, Okay, let's just see once more. I don't know why I'm thinking of other external stuff that I shouldn't be thinking. It's so hard to control your brain as a NEET aspirant, as a dropper. That's the main thing I used to see, but it's fine. Let me just keep going. I don't know. I think if you're in 12th, you'll just feel very normal because everybody's experiencing it. But if you're a dropper, you kind of realize that you are the only one. Okay, even if I'm not the only one, but still, I don't know. It's a weird situation, okay? Let's move on. So this is y square plus 2y plus 2. Such a way y component velocity vector remain 5 meter per second during the motion. So the y component of velocity is always 5 meter per second. I need to find magnitude of acceleration. It's so confusing because I've given x is equal to y square. If I kind of differentiate that also, see I've done it there, but I don't know, man. It's like, how do I actually do it? If I put just dash 12, 25 plus 10, 35 plus 2, 37. No, I'm getting it, guys. Okay, let's just check. Let's see what is the thing that is hidden that we do not know. Okay, first you need to differentiate it. Dx by dt. Okay. Main mistake. Okay, I feel like both of these questions required my knowledge of integration and differentiation that I had learned in my class 12. And here I had to integrate it with respect to x, sorry, with respect to t and not with respect to x, because if I would have differentiated with respect to x, I would have gotten y square plus 2y. But if I would have differentiated with t, then it would be dx by dt is equal to 2 of dy by 2y into dy by dt plus 2 into dy by dt, something like that. And then and okay, if I double differentiate it again, I'm gonna get something else. And if I put ay to be 0, because they've told in y component the velocity vector is constant. Okay, so if I do that, okay, not really understanding. Let me just ask ChatGPT. But I think integration differentiation knowledge was a must here. Let's start learning stuff like that in physics as well. I think I've not really started physics. I started with semiconductors, yes, I did. Rather than that, yeah. Okay, so all I had to know is to differentiate it. Let's ask ChatGPT and like learn this to the fullest such that I'm not even forgetting it until I die. Could you please teach the third question right there, which starts with a particle move along parabolic path? Now in this I don't know, they've differentiated, they've done a lot of stuff. Could you please tell me how would I know what to do when there are questions like this? Like I saw two kinematics question right now, and both of them required integration, differentiation, and stuff like that. And I'm pretty confused. Like, I don't know when exactly do we use all this, and I'm really really confused. Like if you could actually help. Okay, so ChatGPT tells us, ask yourself what is changing with time here. Well, how do I how do I know it? What is changing with time here? Position, velocity at y is constant. So position as well as velocity at x. So I think those two are the things that is changing. Okay, so here they're telling the thing that relates x and y. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. But in velocity and acceleration involve time. Whenever a path equation is given and your velocity slash acceleration is asked, your brain should automatically think I need to introduce time by differentiating. Acha. Okay, let me just write that down. It looked like a very good line. So it's like ask yourself what is changing with time. So it's basically the path that relates x with y, but velocity and acceleration involve time. So you need to introduce time by differentiating it. Okay. Okay, cool. Moving on. Differentiate the path. So I need to differentiate the y square. Okay, let me do it here. 1 second. Y square plus 2y plus 2. So if I have to do dx by dt, it would be 2y dy by dt. Okay. I have to further differentiate it to be, will just be 2 d square by dt. Yeah. And this will be 0 because there is no y component. What the heck? I've forgotten differentiation. That's it. Let me just check. So from here I kind of get the velocity, right? So which is 2y plus 2 dy by dt. Okay, this is basically velocity in y direction. So I would have something like velocity in y direction is given as 5, something like that, right? So vx would be 10y plus 10. Okay, just keep that. And if I have to accelerate it twice, I'll be getting something like okay, basically they're accelerating differentiating this itself. Why did I tell accelerating? Okay, whatever. They're differentiating this itself and they're kind of getting it as 10. Okay, better French, right. So it'll be something like this. So acceleration is gonna be 50. Okay, that was now very easy. Right. Okay, they're asking magnitude of acceleration of the particle. No, we got it for x. What about y? That's when you say Vy is 5, which is constant, so AR is 0. So acceleration is going to be 15 meter per second square. Okay. I think I got it. It's pretty easy. That was actually easy. Well, let me just ask one question to ChatGPT. How do I differentiate dx by dt is equal to 2y dy by dt plus 2 dy by dt with respect to time? Okay, I was definitely right. Oh, wait. Never mind. That is way too heavy looking. So let me just put this down. So that dy by dt, which is nothing but y. And then all I need to do is so vx 5 into 2y plus 2, 10y plus 10. Then I have to find ax where I'll get it as 10 into 5. So it's gonna be 10 dy by dt. Okay, that's 50 meter per second squared. A y is going to be 0 because velocity of y is equal to constant, which is 5. So answer is going to be 50. Okay, very simple than I thought it. Just have to know to differentiate it at particular time, integrate it at a particular time. Let me ask ChatGPT. Okay, never mind. Let's do the next question. How long have we taken so far? I think we'll know it by the end of the video. Okay, so this is a question. A bullet of mass 10 gram is fired horizontally with a speed of 400 meter per second and stationary wooden block of mass 1.2 kg resting on a rough horizontal surface. If the coefficient of kinetic friction between the block and the surface is 0.25, then how far will the block bullet system slide nearly? Okay. me just do it. This thought I thought it was gonna be very easy. I kind of didn't get exactly how to do it, so let me try. So I'll just do the same similar diagram that I've done already. So this is it. Why is it like this? Yeah. So this is basically 1200 grams, 1.2 kg. We have a bullet that strikes it. The bullet is 10 gram, and it's going with 400 meter per second. And this is 0.25. So if I consider the earlier conservation of momentum, the zero would be, the total mass would now be 1210 by 1000. Wow, this is by 1000. Into V. So it's gonna be something like 1.21 into V. So I'd be getting V by 1.21. So this is velocity of the system. Now, how far is it moving is the question, but there's also friction between the surfaces. If we consider an FBD, let's say it's moving in this direction, friction is acting this way and force is acting like this, MA, but I only have it in terms of velocity. What am I going to do? I can easily do the friction part because it's nothing but mu into n. Mu is already given. N is what? Do I consider both the system? Yeah, if I do it, I have something like this. Something like this, And if I equate that, I just need to find the distance, isn't it? So mass is compulsory here. Into acceleration, could I write it as square mass is equal to s. V would be 4 by 4 by 1.1 by 2 into s. I'm doing something, I do not know how far this is right. So let's just give it a try, It will take us 4s are 32. done something. But the closest is 2.2. That means something is wrong. But let's see how is the answer because we've actually done something. Answer is 2.2, right? Uh, how did I actually make it? V system is definitely correct. And then they're using work energy theory. I just used something very normal. You know what they've done after that? They've done delta K is equal to work done by friction. Work done by friction is friction of this into D. And you know what is this because we just did that. So we are like definitely correct with that part. But this is extra D. And over this side we have it with respect to kinetic energy. What did I take here? I took friction, I equated friction and instead of A I put equation of motion. I have zero idea how true this is, but okay, if we do it with respect to half m1 plus m2 to v square, that is the same v square that I'm supposed to put there. 2e into s, right? But I already have the v square, which is 4 by 1.2. That's exactly what I'm getting there. Don't tell me I casually did it. I think I might have done it. Very right. Okay, I really think my method is right at this point. Because what they've done finally is basically this. Divided by 2 हम कर रहे हैं. Divide by 3.2 हम कर रहे हैं. Divided by 10 भी हम क्या हम और एक बार 12.1 लिया था लेकिन इस जगह पे 10 लिया है. 0. Wow, okay. I think we kind of did it, but let me just ask ChatGPT if there is an easier method, and let me tell my method and let's see if it is actually right because now I really want to know. I think if I would have time, I would have done it in the exam, right? Could you please do the fourth question? Like, it's so long. I first used conservation of momentum and found the velocity. Okay, that was easy. And then, you know what I did? Like, for the block system, I kind of did like a free body diagram where friction is acting on the left hand side and then ma, mass into acceleration, on the right hand side, which is the force. And for friction I did mu into m1 plus m2 into g, and for m into a I took m to be the mass of the system, which is like 1.2 kg plus 10 gram. And for acceleration I kind of used equation of motion where I found acceleration from v squared divided by 2s. Initially velocity is 0, so it's just v squared divided by 2s, which is equal to acceleration. Substitute all the values, I kind of got around 2.1 something, and the answer is 2.2. Well, I don't know if my method is correct, first off. Second off, please teach me a very simple method. Like, honestly, I cannot be sitting, though this is an easy question, I cannot be sitting in the examination hall doing a lot of these things. But it just makes me like, how do I think? How do I do it quickly, fastly, precisely, accurately, and stuff like that? I just want to know it better than the 22 lakh students writing NEET. Okay, I might be a person who does that, but let's just see this. I think if this question is good enough, we'll be like in a great place. We'd have actually done a lot of work. Okay. Okay. Okay, right. They've gotten 2.2. Our method is definitely right. Right, I think it's very much correct, so I don't have to sit and do it again. But I might put it down in a sticky note and just paste it on my paper so that the next time if I have to revisit it and I don't get it, I'll know what and where I've gone wrong. So let's do that one thing before I continue. Okay. So if you all have still not got it, basically firstly do a simple free body diagram or just the diagram of see, I usually do diagrams in my paper. That kind of makes things easier to visualize and you're like not bored with the questions, like you're actually interacting with the question, right? So let's make a bullet, let's say it's going there. So let's first do conservation of momentum. For this one, I'm gonna do m1 v1 plus m2 v2 is equal to m1 plus m2 into v system, because they've told it's a block, a bullet system, right? So m1 v1 is basically 10 by 1000, okay, 0.01 into 400 plus 0 is equal to 1.21 into v system. So I'm gonna get v by 1.21 as the v system. Okay, that is cool. Next, we are going to do a free body diagram where on the left hand side is friction, on the right hand side is more with force, which is equal to ma. Now friction, I could write it as mu into n. Mu is basically 0.25, n is basically 1.21 into 10, and mass is again 1.21. For acceleration, it's gonna be v square minus u square is equal to 2as. So we have v square as 4 by 1.21 whole square into okay, divided by 2 into s. Yeah, and then finally I get yes to be something like 2.15 meter, which is almost 2.2 meter. Okay, good, we've done it. And what do I do for in the exam if there is questions like this that I'm able to do, but because of time constraints and stuff like that, I'll not be able to do it later on? I just think I need to make sure I finish the easier one faster, and then I'll have enough time so I can sit with these and do it. Because even if that extra time, if I'm able to do one question properly, I'll be the happiest person. So, okay, moving on to the next page. Another question that I did not get. I think I left a lot of questions in the early part of the paper. And honestly, this was an easy question. Like, you've seen me do, like, I was pretty confident I might get it, but then I didn't get it in the last minute. Okay, let's just think how we'll do it. Okay. Okay, my brain's going to a million places. Let's just try to. I don't know, guys. It's really hard to deviate your brain from thinking unnecessary stuff that's only going to make you feel bad about yourself. Okay, we have this. We have a mass M. We have another mass 2m. I have a force coming here. I have a tension in the string that could come right there. Let me not put the direction because it might be different. And the mu here is mu. And the mu here is mu by 3. Okay. This is what they've told. Two blocks of mass m into m place one over the other. Okay. If a horizontal force F is applied on upper block and tension is developed in the string, which of the following is incorrect? So in this, most of it is correct, but which of them is incorrect is what they want us to find out. Interesting. It's a very interesting question. So simple. I think these kind of questions could be asked for the upcoming NEET. Okay, so let's say I'm pulling it with F. Since there is friction, both of them can move together as a system, right? So I could find acceleration. No, wait. I need to find tension as well as this. So only if I consider mass m, I'll have force this way, I'll have friction this way. And that friction will be equal to mu mg, or is it going to be 3mg, or but there's no 3mg, so I'm just going to take, let's say it's mu mg. And if I consider the 2m, but which direction will 2m move? That is the main thing that I want to know. Let's say it's moving on this side itself. Then friction, tension, as well as action reaction mu mg. So I could find friction with mu 3mg, mu by 3mg minus, okay, whatever. What the hell am I doing? Tension becomes 0. So where is mu mg tension is 0? Let's say this is a correct state. We're just doing it, okay? And the next case is also 2 mu mg. They're not asking which is correct, which is incorrect, which means there are 3 options which are correct, and I need to somehow get those 3. How is it possible? If it's moving towards the left, I think tension will be 0 in those cases. Okay, let me just find the answer. I think we've done so much. It's gonna be really bad if the incorrect option is third, but let's just check. Fifth is fourth option. Acha. I'm very right. Like, they've just done what I've just done. And from that, they kind of found out tension is 0 in all these cases. They've just done this, guys. This is exactly what they've done. Why am I able to write? This is exactly what they've done. That's how they got tension to be zero. So basically, in all the cases, tension is zero, and that fourth is the only case where tension is not zero. But we might need a little bit of ChatGPT help because something feels a bit off about it. Okay, let me just ask ChatGPT. Could you please help me to solve the fifth question, which is the two block system thing? I know I can easily find out tension is zero, but
Hello.
hello.
Namaste, ma'am. The Valence is taking the call, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, am I talking to Jennifer's parents?
No, ma'am. I'm Jennifer.
You are the Jennifer. Okay, Jennifer, are you looking for any admission at Allen?
No, ma'am.
Okay, are you working or studying?
Studying.
12th over.
Yeah.
But your 12th is over?
Yeah.
Okay, then fine. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yes. I just got a call from Allen Institute. It's a bit sarcastic, but never mind. There's nothing serious. I'm happy they just cut the call after they knew I'm done with my 12th. Fine. Could you please teach me the fifth? Oh, wait. I need to take the photo again. Could you please teach me how to do the fifth question, which starts with two blocks of masses m and 2m? Could you please teach it? Like, I can understand that with the trick, I can find t is equal to 0 and eliminate the options. But I don't really understand the depth of it, as well as I'm not able to understand how can force have all these three different values and stuff like that. So could you please explain it to me in detail? Okay, up in the fifth question, I think we've taken almost an hour to do five questions, but it's gonna be worth it. Never mind. I'm not gonna regret spending a lot of time with physics. Honestly, I think the subject you'll like. For example, I kind of like this um, analogy a lot, which is like if you want to like a person or if you want to love a person, it's always that you spend a lot of time with them. So in the same way, if you want to love the subject, you'll have to make sure you spend a lot of time with it. So the more time you spend, the more it will love you, and the more you will love it too. So it's mutual. Okay, imagine if I told this to, never mind, let's not talk about that. Okay, so first think without the string. Okay, suppose the string were absent, you pull the top block, what would friction do? Hmm. The upper block wants to move right relative to lower block, so the friction opposite tendency. Therefore, on upper block, friction acts left. On lower block, the friction acts right. Okay, now include the string. The lower block is tied to the wall. So basically, when I considered it, I considered the bottom block to move together with it. So that's how fine. Since there is friction, it means it's moving together, right? I kind of remember doing this with a teacher. Okay. Right. So if the lower block is tied to the wall, whenever friction tries to pull the lower block right, the string resists by pulling it left. Okay. So therefore, all over the tension is zero. So when is tension zero? The tension to be non-zero, friction between the blocks must be needed, but friction appears only when there is a tendency of relative motion. So let's find the maximum static friction available between the blocks. Mg, thus friction can adjust from 0 to mu mg as needed. Oh, acha. So if F is mu mg by 2, oh, current is gone. F is lesser than mu mg. So all those values where F is less than mu mg is possible. Right, so easy elimination I could have done it, but yeah, I just had to know this. But that one thing that ChatGPT told me, I'm not able to understand, guys. Let me just go back to it. Could you like teach me once more? I don't know that particular part where you asked when is t is equal to 0. For t to be non-zero, friction between the blocks must be needed. There is friction between the blocks, but friction appears only when there is a tendency of relative motion. So if you have to find the maximum static friction, it is mu mg. And how did you find that mu mg? I don't understand. But I then understood like friction can be from 0 to mu mg, so the force should also be from 0 to mu mg. I don't know, something like that. Could you just teach me? I'm just a bit more confused. Okay. Okay, this is confusing me a bit. Let's see once more. So the maximum friction here I can have is mu mg. Normal between block would be mg. That's why the max is mu mg. But they're not telling it's always in equilibrium, are they? Oh. Mhm. As long as the lower block remains at rest, the force can move the upper block. So if it has to remain at rest, tension has to be zero. And the forces should have been somewhere between the 0 to maximum frictional force. Right, it's simple logic. Mm. Right, so feeling very weird a bit. I don't even want to take a rest. Like, my mind is that purely boggling with stuff. Let me just write this down, okay? I don't know, a rush at times like this can be very fatal. So I'm not trying to take any rest. Okay, so if there is force on the left hand side, there is friction here. This is gonna be mg. And something like friction force. And if I have to take with respect to my block, tension तो ऐसी है. But on that side, then there is tension here. There is also friction due to 2m and friction due to m. This is action, reaction force. So tension is going to be zero. So it's gonna be the cases where tension is zero. And force can be anywhere between here to maximum frictional force. So gonna be 0 to mu m g. So that's how they kind of brought up the idea where 4 is the false statement. Right. Okay. Let's do the next question. This is a question I kind of got it wrong, guys. Like, I was pretty confident, but since it's wrong, let me tell you the logic I used. The only logic I used is if tension is somewhere like this, right? If acceleration is somewhat like it's gonna be g sine theta, it's gonna depend on sine theta, and sine is always increasing from 0 to 90 degree. So one closer to 90 degrees sine theta is, so that's why I went with it. But just realize how big of a blunder it is. Let me just see what is the right answer, because it's not right, guys. Okay. So what I've done is a is g sine theta, a is g sine theta cos theta, and a that I'll basically have to find the not really understanding how exactly did they do it right here. They started with a is equal to g sine theta and a x as g sine theta cos theta. A x. Oh, right. They're asking with respect to the horizontal. So I have to make sure I find out with respect to the horizontal. Then it's going to be the resultant of g sine theta and g cos theta. How far is that true? Let's check. Let me ask ChatGPT and clear it. Could you please teach me the sixth question where there is a block sliding down a smooth inclined plane? I don't really understand how to do it. I don't really understand the logic. Could you please explain it to me in the best way possible? Okay, it's telling the question is much simpler than it looks. Question is block slides down, okay. We need to find acceleration and we know along the incline. Okay, so one thing I would have made a mistake is that g sine theta is along incline, but we need to find with respect to horizontal, because they clearly mention horizontal component of the block's acceleration. So its horizontal component is going to be a cos theta. Something is fishy. Which direction would acceleration actually be? It'll be downwards. So if acceleration is downwards, this is going to be theta. Acha. I think I kind of got it. But there's also a place where there is mg sine theta. But I could consider that when it's in equilibrium. Okay, let me check. Substitute g sine theta in the place of a. Acha. Okay. So ax component is basically a cos theta. Theta with the horizontal. if I put instead of A, G sine theta cos theta, what did I get? If I put into 2 by 2, I'd get G by 2 sine 2 theta, which will be the acceleration x direction. So max of sine theta is 1. So sine 2 theta is 1 in the sense theta should be 45. So the answer's got to be 45 and not 75. Okay, cool. I think I kind of found it out. I kind of get what they were actually looking for in the question. Yes, I did. All right. Okay, got that. Moving on to the next question, which I really want to know whether I've done the right option or not. I have done the wrong option. Okay. The answer is actually second option. Can you believe I first done it right and then I went back and did it wrong? That's something I don't like. Okay, let's see where I've gone wrong. I thought I saw a similar question before and I got that wrong because of my thinking, and I thought I have the same thinking, so the one that is opposite to it will be correct. It is true that static friction can be negative, positive, or zero. And it's also true that coefficient of static friction is generally larger than coefficient of kinetic friction. But not always, right? Because static friction can have different values. Limiting friction is what is constant and large, right? That was actually the logic in my brain. Let me ask ChatGPT and clear that out, okay? Could you please help me with a question which tells work done by static friction may be negative, positive, or zero? That is our assertion. Reason is the coefficient of static friction in general is larger than coefficient of kinetic friction. This is the reason. So this is the seventh question that I've sent to you. I kind of have put assertion as true, reason as false, but in reality it is both are correct and they are the right explanation. Now, firstly, the first assertion I had a little bit of doubt. Like, I know friction can be negative, positive, or zero, but I don't know how static friction is gonna have all these. So there's a little bit of confusion that I have. And when it comes to the reason, what I thought is limiting friction is what has larger value. But static friction can change according to the force applied. So wouldn't that be wrong? Is what is my logic, but I don't know. Please help me and teach me the basics that I'm lacking with respect to this question. Okay, it's telling me it's a good news that this doubt is actually pointing to an important distinction that many students mix up, which is static friction versus limiting static friction. So it's telling me, let's untangle it. Assertion is true. Why? It is true that work done by static friction is so static friction does zero work when, imagine a box on a rough floor, you push it gently, works, doesn't move. Displacement is zero, friction is zero. Okay, ठीक है. And it's negative, a block slides without slipping down an inclined plane. Okay, a better, okay. Wheel rolling on a surface while an external force causes friction opposites, okay. Okay, so it can also do negative work if friction and displacement are in opposite direction. And positive work, okay, kind of understood. Now let's discuss the reason. Coefficient of static friction in general is larger, and this is true. Okay, I'm sorry, that it tells it is not the correct explanation, right? So static friction is always lesser than mu s into n, and but usually when they compare mu s and mu k, okay, a little bit more confusion. I think my brain is just fired at this point. That's why I'm kind of a bit slow even for easy stuff. But it's fine. I do not think we need to take a rest. Like, what am I going to do in that rest? I have no idea. So let's just not. Maybe I'll go drink some water. So F S is equal to mu s into n happens only when it is at limiting fraction and mu s is at its and Fs is at its maximum value. I shouldn't get confused with coefficient as well as normal static friction. Acha, okay, that is somewhere I've gone wrong, right? It's not a simple thing, but I think I've gotten a hand of it right now. Coefficient of friction and friction. Okay, so in this question, I kind of understand I've gone wrong with respect to coefficient of friction and the friction. So, friction. Now, please tell me, like, I'm a bit more confused. Like, But when I talk about static friction, the value of static friction need not always be larger than kinetic friction. But coefficient of static friction is always larger than coefficient of kinetic friction. Am I right, or am I still lacking something? So mu s is always greater than mu k, which is kinetic friction. Okay. Coefficient of friction, okay. Yeah, and then static friction value is anywhere between 0 to mu s into n. Okay, that was something I got a little bit confused about. But ChatGPT tells I'm right, so I don't think I have to get confused more about with it myself. Okay, but they do not make any sense together, right? Yeah, they don't. Okay, cool. Next is a question that I couldn't do. I think I'm not even given time for this question. A projectile of mass 2 kg is thrown at an angle theta, which is 60 degree, with the horizontal with a speed of 100 meter per second. At the highest point, it explodes into two equal parts, one that moves vertically upward with 100 meter per second with respect to the ground. Kinetic energy of the other part. Okay, I think this is pretty easy. Let's try it down here itself. Why did I not do it? I don't know. Let me try it. Okay. So let's see, it's going like this. Oh, that was a nice parabola. Projectile, sorry. It's the same, right? Okay, whatever. At its highest point, let's say. This is the highest point of the projectile. It splits into two. It's already going initially with like 100 meter per second. But later this one goes with 100 meter per second. Vertically upward. Relative mass with the built ground. I need to find the kinetic power okay, of the other. It explodes into two equal parts. So this will be 1 kg, 1 kg. Now I don't think. Okay, momentum. For momentum, yes, vector does matter. So I could do it like v cos 60 I cap. So if I do m into v cos 60 is 1 by 2 I cap, which is the initial, and final is 1 kg into 100 g cap plus 1 kg into v, I don't know, and 100. Why did I tell? I don't know. Okay, whatever. Minus 100 g cap is v, and if I have to find the magnitude, it's basically 2 root 100, right? No, wait, 100 root 100 root 2. It's gonna be something like I cap minus g cap. They need to find the kinetic energy. this will be half into m into v. This is v. 100 into 100 into root 2 whole square is 2. I'm getting 10 power 4. The answer better not be 10 power 4. It better not be. I'll be very sad. Yes, it is. Okay, great. It is 10 power 4. Just see, guys. This is what I do in the exam. I know how to do. I know the steps. I know every single thing, and I mess it up like I've never done it. How awesome! How awesome! Like I just got it. Whatever. And conservation of momentum and have to do v cos theta I cap. This is gonna be 100 g cap plus 1 into v atom. And it's gonna be so v is gonna be 100 root 2 I cap minus c cap. So kinetic energy is going to be half 1 into 10 root 2 whole square. I'll get 10 power 4 joule. It's way too simple. I have no idea why I didn't do it. I don't know. I'm still thinking if I should allot a different time just to do physics. I think at this point I cannot change the way I'm doing the exam, but I might have to work on doing physics even at the tiredest or the hurriest or the speedest moments. Okay, 9 is third option, yeah. This one is easy, thankfully. I mean, I did get confused. You see, I was gonna do some stuff, but later I understood that the key words are collides head-on elastically. Basically, their velocities is just gonna interchange. That's what happens. 10 is 4, yes. I think they've just given it. It's supposed to be 5 by 4 mr square and 3 by 2 mr square, right? They've given the opposite. Yeah, it's supposed to be 5 by 4 and 3 by 2. This one I knew it. Okay, congrats, guys. We're actually up with 10 questions. I have no idea how long it took, but let's just continue. Let's just stop when we are actually tired. I think after seeing that I've done few questions right, I'm not feeling that bad. Next is mechanical equilibrium. Yeah, I've done it right, but I was a bit confused of how exactly do I decide this thing. This a rigid body set up in mechanical equilibrium if its linear momentum is not changing with respect to time. Okay, let's just verify it. Is it only linear momentum and angular momentum, stuff like that? Let me just ask ChatGPT. Could you please help me? If a rigid body is in mechanical equilibrium, I know it is correct that linear momentum and angular momentum have to be constant with respect to time. But is it only these two, or is it something else? And how else can they ask these questions? What exactly is this mechanical equilibrium? Could you just go in depth with this so that I'll not be able to get confused, because I was not really 100% sure. I probably marked the answer with 98% confidence, but there's just 2% that I was feeling a bit off about it. So I think if you could please help me and make sure I don't do any other mistakes if there are questions asked from this part. Okay, I've asked it. Now it's its work to give me. So this is a really good doubt, because mechanical equilibrium is one of those topics where students memorize conditions but don't build the practice. Okay, so our doubt is really great. I just love when ChatGPT encourages me with my doubts. It's that's a great doubt. What does equilibrium actually mean? It means nothing is trying to change the body's state of motion. What does equilibrium actually mean? Nothing is trying to change the body's state of motion. Yeah. So there are two ways a body can change. It can start accelerating linearly or it can rotate. So both of that has to stop. And why does summation of force 0? So that comes, oh, acha. No, they've given a little bit of depth into it. It's like it has to be constant linearly as well as rotationally. So it'll be dp by dt has to be constant. So dl by dt has to be constant. So p is also constant. T is also constant. Great. Okay, what can examiner do? This is something ChatGPT wants to teach us. Now let's look more into it. A body in mechanical equilibrium has zero resultant force. That is true. A body in mechanical equilibrium has zero resultant torque. That is also true. Linear momentum remains constant. True. Angular momentum is constant. True. Velocity is zero. Need not be. It can have constant velocity. Angular velocity is zero. Again, need not be. It can have uniform. Acceleration is zero. Yes, very much. Angular acceleration also zero. Very much. Okay, so I think yeah, I've pretty much done it. Right. I think that is pretty much it. So I just have to write V and omega need not always be zero, can be constant, but angular acceleration and acceleration should be zero. Okay, let me just go drink a little bit of water and come back. Till that you can see this question. Let me just check if I've done it right. 12 2, yeah, I've done it perfectly right. You can also check it out. Till then I'll be back. Yeah, I'm back. Okay, so this question was right. I did it well. Okay, moving on to this one. This one I had to think a bit, but I've gotten it very right. I'm so happy about it. Okay, so first off, I'm sure it does not depend on medium. Then how will there be gravitational force between the sun and the earth, right? Secondly, a body cannot be shielded from. This one was something I had to think on a little bit. So it basically cannot be shielded even if you're putting it inside a hollow sphere. So let me just ask that to ChatGPT. Like you can just try to read it, and try to work on it and understand like what does it actually mean. But it's fine. You can look into it. So I'm just yeah. Could you please tell me? Could you just explain this a bit more? A body cannot be shielded from the gravitational influence of nearby matter by putting it inside a hollow sphere. Okay, we'll be done with 13 questions. This comes from the shell theorem. Okay, what does a hollow spherical shell do? Suppose you have a hollow sphere of mass m and particle is placed inside it, and the shell theorem says the gravitational field due to shell itself is zero everywhere inside the shell. Okay, so gravitational acceleration of the shell will be zero. Okay, they've given kind of like an analogy. Let's try to imagine that. Let's say you are inside a hollow spherical shell and the earth is nearby, and the shell itself produces no acceleration inside, but earth's gravity is still there. So you still feel earth's gravitational pull and the shell hasn't blocked it. So that is how you can understand it. Why can't gravity be shielded? Think of a metal box in electrostatics. Charges rearrange themselves in the conductor and make the electric field inside zero. That's why electrostatic shielding works. But gravity has a problem. Okay, now I understand both of these are very different, electrostatics as well as gravity. There are positive charges and negative charges in electricity. There's only positive mass in ordinary gravity, so we can't arrange them and cancel out them. So it's true. Right, that is a good statement. I think I just want to mark it because I usually not seen a statement like this before, and if I see it first time in the exam, I might get very much confused as well. So I'm just gonna mark it out so that I can like revise it whenever I see it back. Okay, moving on. What I've done. I just hope it's right. I think it's gonna be right. Yeah, it is right. So basically, we only take the mass from below, half of it, because that's the only thing that provides sense of tension. This is something I kind of asked, all of a sudden to the teacher, and he explained it to me in like a very analogical, what am I saying, in a very analogy way. So then I kind of understood it. Okay, 15 one I've kind of done it wrong. Why? Viscosity decreases. Rise in temperature, viscosity of liquid decreases. And for gases, it increases. What the heck? This is what I had thought, but I don't know. Long back in a practical examination, I kind of answered it as decrease and it was wrong. Why? Don't really understand what the heck. Okay, let me just check that out. I know it is this way, but what the heck? With rise in temperature, the viscosity of a liquid and gas changes respectively. I mean, with temperature, viscosity of liquid decreases and for gases it increases. I mean, why am I confused in this part? So when you increase the temperature, I thought there's gonna be a lot of interaction and hence viscosity increases. Okay, I think I just have to think it in my ways. Oh, let me see the 16th one. It's first option. Oh, thank God. I mean, there was another formula I saw long back, and I was thinking where exactly will I use it, and then it just came out of nowhere. So I'll just take that book. I had this tiny book which had like all the physics formulas. I want that. I don't know where I've kept it. Oh yeah, I can see it. So I found that formula from this book. And since then I've been thinking, wow, it's a formula that I might need in the future. So I think it's yeah. So the formula is basically R is 2 into small h, capital H minus small h. And the small capital H is basically the height until which the water is filled in the tank, and the small h is basically uh, from the top. So if I consider it that way, if I do this water, this h, water, so let's say that they've given it as D, right? So if I put D of, yeah, same formula, no difference, ठीक है, that's correct. Just have to remember it. Oops, let me just charge it. I think I've been using it for pretty long now. Let me just bring the charger real quick. And that is correct, guys. You can just see the next question until then, which I've got it wrong. Okay, I'll come and see it.